Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Have you recently found yourself in a fictional world, transported there against your own will, or perhaps reincarnated into the fictional setting of your dreams? Have you realized that the character or archetype that you've been transported into is the hero character? The self-sacrificing, selfless, heroic, and borderline perfect character? Well, Huh? What? You don't want to be this character archetype? Why? Oh, because you think that type of character is boring, dull, and uninteresting, and you know you will be the fan base's least favorite character. Oh, you know you will be called the Captain America of your story, and everyone will dismiss you and all of your noble and hard-fought-for qualities for your mentally ill, fucked up, villainous younger brother. Oh, well, you're not wrong. I mean, nobody likes a goody two-shoes, am I right? Sorry, though. My condolences. The Golden Boy. The self-sacrificing hero. The character who was born to do the right thing and the right thing only is not a character type that is new by any means. The hero comes in many forms and tropes, but today I want to talk about the ideal hero. The perfect one. The one sans flaws and sometimes sans personality. As someone who loves stories and has spent the majority of their life in fandom spaces, I often observe these types of characters to be like the least favored in a piece of fiction. They are too good is an argument often made. They are so boring is another. So I sit here talking to a camera by myself at 4:27 p.m. in the afternoon, and I ask you, dear viewer on the couch, is the ideal hero such a bad thing? I mean, must a character have flaws to be taken seriously or to be considered a well-written character? Are they boring as all hell? And are they a waste of time in a piece of fiction, or do they serve a greater purpose in their story that gets easily dismissed because they're just too much of a goody two-shoe? I honestly don't know. That's why I'm here talking with you so we could talk it out together and figure it out together in a nice lighthearted video because the last one was a little heavy. So yes. Hey, my name is E, as in end your incessant moans and groans. Yes, okay? I wanted a video to be able to talk about Baldur's Gate 3, Genshin Impact, and Jesus all in the same one. Is that okay? Is that such a crime? Okay, this is a genuine question that I've wanted to explore for a while now. Anyways, welcome to Twitch, or That's What I Think, a series on the channel where we talk about and I share my opinions about fandom, media, or both, or tomfoolery happening online. Anyways, please like and subscribe or I will be murdered in a very unnecessarily violent way. So you don't want that to happen, do you? Right? Also hit the notification bell because YouTube is a little silly, to say it lightly. And if you want to support the channel, then consider becoming a member on our Ko-fi. Ko-fi.com/ESocial to be able to see videos early and to get a shout out at the end of every single video. Okay, that is all. Let's start. Me? Why, I am a bit of an artist myself. Do you want to see? You're gonna look at it anyway. Look at that. Yep, it's me. Can't you tell? And honestly, I deserve to be in the Louvre. The drawing and me. But in order to do that, I have to like build a portfolio. But putting together like a physical portfolio is so 1600s, okay? I need something on the internet so everyone can see it and it can live on forever in infamy. Well, it's a good thing that today's sponsor is Squarespace. If you do not know, Squarespace is the #1 website building platform ever. But do not worry, okay? Squarespace makes building a website like so easy, okay? It has a super user-friendly interface. Its Fluid engine lets literally anyone cook up a masterpiece of a website with ease. And if anybody knows this, I know this. Building a website can be very daunting, but luckily Squarespace has layouts pre-made that could do all of the technical work for you. Do you want a website to only show off your art portfolio? Then they have you covered with a ton of pre-designed portfolio built designs. They also provide an in-house analytic viewer where you can study your website's traffic with a click of a button. You will see which keywords drive traffic to your site, which content on your site is the most popular, so you can maximize your website's reach. Plus, if you ever need help, there is an expert design agent at your fingertips that can help with perfecting that design or your website efficiency so you know you are set. So artists, you need to worry no more on your task of sharing your masterpieces. Sign up for Squarespace with my link in the description to save 10% off your very first purchase of a website or a domain. And make sure to use my code EISSOCIAL. Share your art and your masterpieces with the world. And thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. So if you don't mind me, I have to go continue this masterpiece. Bye. So, what makes a hero? Girl, that may be a philosophical question that many smarter people than me have tackled and may still be unable to answer. So, let's not get crazy, okay? So let's just talk about the bare definition and not get existential, because I will get existential. Typically in fiction, the hero comes in many different forms, such as the idealist, the zero to hero, the anti-hero, the tragic hero, the folk hero, and of course, the ideal hero. The ideal hero is pretty much almost perfect. They fight with honor. They never stoop down to a lower moral ground. They genuinely care for others, and they never fight or struggle with themselves or morality or have any sort of like inner conflict. They're selfless, they're self-sacrificing and morally correct all the time. The flaws that they have are flaws that many just roll their eyes at. Aw, they are too self-sacrificing. They're too selfless. Oh my god, they're a mess. Pull yourself together. Captain America, or Steve Rogers in the MCU version, for example, exemplifies this trope to perfection, okay? My man Steve was born weak, but had the will to help others, and is always willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good. Something he does while he is weak, and something he does while he is strong. He jumps on the grenade when he's weak, and then he dives into the Arctic while he is strong. He started out good, and he ended good. And he's one boring motherfucker. Well, allegedly. Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy may also be the poster boy to the perfect hero, the ideal hero, which was pretty intentional from the start. He is the chosen one, the one who saves people because it's the right thing to do, and shines as the golden boy that trains hard to be the hero that forgives and heals from his like f***ed up father. It's a whole thing. That's like a whole thing, right? Jesus, in like a literary sense, is also a really good example of this type of character because like he's flawless. He saves people and he's self-sacrificing. There's really no one doing it like him. Okay? But aside from these well-known ideal heroes, today I want to focus on two other characters that represent this trope perfectly. I want to talk about the criticisms around them and explore whether or not they are poorly written or if they are boring as all hell. And also these two in particular because I'm the most familiar with these two and because I want to talk my okay? Am I allowed? Permission to talk, sir? Mavuika is the latest god in Genshin Impact, who, unlike her fellow gods, is a human, who was chosen to take up the mantle of being the god, or archon, of her nation. She is an amazing leader. She's steadfast, quick on her feet, kind, and will, and has sacrificed everything for her people. She sacrifices living with her family so that she can be reincarnated 500 years later to fulfill her goals in saving everyone. She sacrifices every last object of sentiment and memories and nostalgia that she owns that reminds her of her family, of her friends, of her life in order to save the main character. And at the end, she is ready to give up her very life to officially put an end to her people's suffering. She endured 500 years of limbo and didn't even break a sweat because of it. And she's hot. Mavuika is quite literally the picture of the ideal hero, not a flaw to be found on that woman. And the fandom calls her a Mary Sue, boring and uninteresting because of this. I actually shared this sentiment previously in this video here, where I said, Mavuika is hot, selfless, smart, caring, and a great leader. Where are the flaws? Where are they? I want her to be a hot mess like the rest of them, okay? They don't make archons like they used to, okay? I need flaws, I need some spice, okay? You can see this opinion shared in the fandom by the lack of discussion around Mavuika in videos like these talking about her writing, and in the comments of those videos sharing how she's just boring and that there's no saving her at this point. I mean, with Mavuika, there is no like inner conflict, right? There are no problems. So when things turn alright in the end for the character, like how it turned out perfectly for Mavuika, it feels lackluster because there was seemingly no hardship that had to be endured for the ending to feel satisfying. Mavuika said, we're gonna do this, this, and this to save Natlan. And this, and this did occur, and she saved Natlan. I mean, period. A woman of her word, okay? I initially thought she was boring because each Tevat god around her is like a little f***ed up, you know? Venti, the Archon of Mondstadt, is a drunk twink most of the time and accidentally let his people fall into a dictatorship for a bit. Love him. Favorite character. I can be mean to him. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Zhongli is the god of Liyue. He's old and very wisely decided to retire and let the humans run. And, you know, he's a little silly with money. But other than that, he's pretty mentally stable. A rules Inazuma, and when she lost her twin sister, Inazuma suffered isolationism because of it. Nahida was in captivity for 500 years, so it really put a cramp in her swag. And Furina is a human copy of the god Focalors that had to pretend to be a god for a very long time and has insane mental illness because of it. Please watch this video for that discussion on Furina and her mental illness. I love her so much. It's great. So each Archon until now had their little quirks that made them not so godly or unreachable as we may have initially perceived them to be. They're all just little guys. Doesn't matter how many war crimes they committed, Venti is just a little guy. Just a little guy. And that's what made them so endearing. So seeing a god have the perfect ne'er-do-evil, live for the right thing and help others personality means that that god is pretty much how a god ought to be, and that's boring, and it's a sign of bad writing. But I don't think, personally, Mavuika should have been written or characterized any differently. I don't think Mavuika existing like this in the lore is a wasted opportunity or a sign of bad writing, because I think sometimes IMO, the ideal hero needs to exist. I think Mavuika existing in this way really highlights the other characters being her opposite. Mavuika, being the perfect hero, puts into perspective how low-key or lacking or imperfect the other Archons are. I mean, if everyone's f***ed up, respectfully, then there wouldn't really be a sense of diversity in personalities across all of the gods, and it may start to feel redundant. And honestly, this is the biggest kicker and the reason why I think this was purposeful and not an example of bad writing. Because it is hilarious that the only Archon that was born a human and had a normal human life is the one Archon who's the most perfect. Like, everyone else is some non-human entity or lived a weird-ass non-human life. Furina is technically a human, but she was made as a copy to Focalors and was not born in a human way. Also did not like live a human life prior to everything that went down. So isn't that ironic? Isn't that hilarious? That Mavuika is literally the perfect god and leader so far, and she's the least divine. Her being written like this really makes you ponder because of how like ironic it is. Maybe she was written in this way as a message about status. It doesn't matter what you were born as. It is truly your heart and your soul that will determine who you are and what you become. And that message and irony in and of itself is more than enough for me to appreciate her character than just call her boring and GTFO. And personally, I don't know if she needs to have flaws for her to be considered a well-written character, but we're gonna come back to that take in particular later. The fandom calls Mavuika a Mary Sue, and I mean, she's not. Technically speaking, a Mary Sue is a fan fiction character that originated from the Star Trek fandom. Yup, the Trekkies going boldly where no one has ever gone before, again. Mary Sue originated in fan fiction circles where there was like a self-insert in fan fictions that was like perfect and could do nothing wrong, that all the characters loved and wanted to like bang. If you want to learn more about the Mary Sue, go watch Minsleep's video. Very awesome video, and I think she spits talking about Mavuika in this way, and I agree with her on some things. So technically, no, Mavuika is not a Mary Sue. Also, you could say her flaws are that she's too reckless, or that she's just, you know, living off a prayer. I don't know, I think we're being a little harsh on the woman. I think she had no choice but to be perfect, having the entire nation rest on her and her decisions. Also, can I say something? If Mavuika was a hot guy, I don't think we would be having this discussion. I don't think she would be having this many criticisms thrown at her. Hey, I think I'm right, because Zhongli, the Liyue god, he's, you know, he's pretty flawless. You know, he's a little silly with money and he acts like an old man sometimes, but he had a plan for Liyue and he executed it flawlessly and everything turned out well in the end. I mean, he's pretty perfect. You know what I mean? And he's one of the most popular characters in the fandom. Hey, I don't want to start anything though. But I don't know if y'all are ready for that conversation. Actually, if you are, go watch this video here because we actually talk about sexism. Good old sexism. Wyll Ravengard is the folk hero of Baldur's Gate 3. I'm so excited to talk about Wyll. I have to calm down. I'm an adult.
Okay. Are you kidding? That's unfair. She made those. I need to calm down. Everything's fine.
Amanda.
I'm an adult.
After getting a worm shoved in our brains, then we gotta get the worm out. It's basically the plot, okay? We meet a bunch of weirdos on the way. And one of the weirdos, Wyll, we meet in a battle outside the gate of a community currently housing a ton of refugees that, you know, a bunch of goblins are trying to kill. Yeah, there's more to it, but bear with me. I'm trying to be, like, brief. In Will's introduction scene, we see him jump out, stab some goblins, and deliver this kick-ass line.
Provoke the blade and suffer its sting.
I think this is peak, but apparently some think it's cringe. Man, cringe culture. I love Wyll opening line scene. After this battle, we get to know Wyll, and we realize that he too has a worm shoved in his brain and wants to be dewormed. But if he's got a worm in his brain, then that means he was on the ship with us where we got the worm in our brain. And here we are, trying to find a way to get the worm out, and here he is, immediately protecting people, fighting for innocence to live. He's doing that first? Bro, don't we have bigger problems at hand right now? His immediate decision was to put his issues aside to be able to help people in need. I mean, if I got a worm in my head that will turn me into this in T-minus 48 hours, then the last thing I'm doing when seeing a bunch of goblins attack innocent people is help them. Am I a bad person? Girl, I'd be like, that's a you issue. I gotta ensure my future is sans squid, okay? I gotta go. I can't be here, guys. But that's not what Wyll does. He helps immediately. And that choice in action is nothing new for Wyll, because Wyll is known as the Blade of Frontiers, a true hero who puts his life on the line to save citizens of the Sword Coast from monsters and villains alike. He is well known throughout the land because of his heroic deeds. He knows right from wrong. He dislikes it when you are a dick in the game, and in every situation advocates for helping people in need, no matter how inconvenient or insignificant or dangerous it could be. We also learn that Wyll is a warlock, or a man who made a deal with the devil in exchange to be able to use her devilish powers. This fact seems a little off. Seems a little out of character for a hero such as he. But we learn that he was tricked into making a deal with this devil, who's named Mizora. All my homies hate Mizora, okay? One fateful night when he was young, a cult rolled up to his town and threatened to wipe out his entire city while his father was away, unable to protect it. And as a teen, he watched helplessly as the cultists readied themselves to kill everybody he's ever known and loved. And in that moment, Mizora, the devil, whispered in his ear that if he makes a pact with her, right then and there, she will take the cultists out. And the rest was history. He was soon exiled by his father when his father saw Mizora, and he has been tied to this ever since, trying to use this new devilish powers for good. He's gentlemanly and very prince-like, as Astarion calls him, and he's just a good man. And he is probably one of the least popular characters in the entire game. He is called cheesy, bland, and boring. But girl, he isn't! But girl, he's not! But girl, he's not! Oh my god, he's not. There's so many themes in his story. Themes of helplessness, of desperately trying to do the good thing, and rising above all this Like, it's so cool. His story is so cool. Okay, Lae'zel, in one of her voice lines, bites at Wyll by trying to pierce through the gentlemanly, heroic image to see if Wyll is, like, full of shit or not. This is how the interaction goes down.
The Blade of Frontiers, hmm? Do you always need to be the center of attention?
Anything but. I don't fight to be flattered, Lae'zel. I fight to save lives.
Wyll's answer is perfect because, yeah, Lae'zel, what rewards? What? pray tell, does Wyll get in return for saving people? You know what he got? He got cast out by his father, and he got exiled from his home. He hardly seems like he is showered in jewels and people's admiration. He isn't made the king of any town. He's not like wearing expensive robes. He's wearing the usual warlock fit. In fact, he lost an eye, is forever attached and tormented by a devil, and got a tadpole stuck in his brain. Bro's not living large by any means. Any weaker of a man would not have continued to do what he does. Wyll's character existing in this way shows how being a hero sometimes isn't all it's cracked up to be. It hurts. It sucks. You get injured. You don't get praised as often as you should. And sometimes you fail to save people. Sometimes you make mistakes and save the wrong people. Being a hero means to keep trekking forward despite the ups and the downs. Probably my most favorite line by Wyll, and one of my most favorite lines in this whole game that really shows what I'm talking about, is one of the lines he says when you click on him in the game. If you don't know, when you click on a character's profile picture in the game to be able to control them, they have like a little line that they say. And Wyll's, I won't even try to replicate it right now because Wyll's voice actor, Theo Solomon, ate the out of this role, okay?
A hero at heart. A hero at heart.
God. Okay, listen. Some of you might have listened to that and went, when's the line gonna come? But listen to me. This line is so good. And let me tell you why. Okay. I went to school for acting. Oh my God, don't even try to act surprised. And let me tell you something. As actors, we are taught many things, but one of those things is motivation. Good actor gets into their character's head and really figures out what makes the character tick, what makes the character say or do what they do. A good actor would really study the character, the scene, and read in between the lines. The subtext that's not really being said. You can't just like deliver a line because it sounds good and then call it a day. You have to ask, why is your character saying this line? What are they experiencing in this moment to make them say that and say it in the way that they do? If Wyll was the full of himself, insufferable, boring ass hero that people make him out to be, then Theo would have delivered the line very differently. Listen to the line, a hero at heart. When does that line happen? When you click on a character and they kind of showcase a little bit of their personality. He says the words, a hero at heart. Do you know how that could have been delivered? He could have said it like, a hero at heart, right? Or could have been like said smugly like, a hero at heart. Smirk emoji. You know? This is how he delivers it.
A hero at heart.
Yes, that food is so delicious. Theo Solomon, the actor, the man that you are. Y'all are sleeping on this man's talent. Wyll mutters it out. He almost says it like a prayer. Like after everything, he is still trying to convince himself that he is a hero at heart. Even though he is attached to a devil, even though he was almost tricked by her into killing an innocent, Karlach, and even though he knows he could have been tricked into killing innocents in his past by her, even though his father cast him out. Even though the only things he's ever gotten for all of his good deeds is a fake eye, scars, and now a tadpole in his head. And even though the odds of him escaping this worm situation are low to not at all, even after all of this bullshit, man, he is a hero at heart. How does that strength not inspire you? How does that strength not make you emotional? Wyll. Oh my God, I'm gonna start crying. Wyll actually admits at a point in the story that he doesn't regret his decision of the pact with Mizora, but it doesn't mean he isn't affected by it. He wishes some nights, selfishly, to be free from it one day. This line that he says, that he mutters and prays out, and the other line where he says that he does wish that he's free from this pact and he wants to be free, points that there's more going on than just people brushing him off as just like the perfect hero character that's boring and dull. His whole story is grappling with the effects of being a hero and what that does to a person. The bad that comes with it, the good and the bad, and the constant bad, and the strength you have to continue being good. Because through everything, he is a hero at heart. He doesn't take anything for granted. He's a strong man. He's a gentleman. He tries to romance you in his romance story by inviting you to a dance. He puts others before himself, and he's a hero. Oh, that line delivery by Theo is what made me pause everything I was thinking about with my own reservations for ideal hero characters like him. It made me really think about Wyll and everything he stands for. He is such an important character in this story, and I love his storyline and his strength. It is necessary for a game like this to have someone like him. Like with Mavuika, sometimes stories need a perfect hero like Wyll to balance everything else out, and for us to look up to. In these examples, the characters are seemingly flawless, or they are goody two-shoes that no one can relate to or no one can take seriously. It's always good, from a writer's perspective, to sprinkle in some humanity and weakness into your characters. Being human is delightfully messy, and the true, most realistic of characters will represent this. Characters that are revered as being incredibly well written go through the story changing and learning, evolving, and dealing with their flaws and becoming stronger because of them. The character arc that occurs is oftentimes very satisfying to the viewer. The ideal hero doesn't really change in their story, admittedly. Wyll went through adversity, but continued being the good man his father raised. He was raised in a heroic, brave way, and he continues to be heroic and brave to this very day. There are no large story beats in Baldur's Gate 3 that suggests that he will ever give these traits up or deviate from this path knowingly. You kill the innocents, he leaves your party. You're too much of a he leaves your party. Through your actions, you can make Astarion evil, you can make Shadowheart evil, you can make Lae'zel evil, but Wyll, he's gonna be a good man from the start to the end. Or he's just not gonna be in your party and he's gonna be dead. You know what I mean? Mavuika also seems to not change throughout her entire story in Genshin Impact. We meet her when she is a brave, steadfast, perfect leader, and then we leave her when she is the brave, steadfast, perfect leader. This lack of character progression, strife, flaws, or weaknesses lends them to being called boring, poorly written, and a waste of space in their story. But as I mentioned earlier, stories need variety. They need foil characters to bounce off one another. They need the flawed and the flawless. Foil characters, if you are unaware, are characters that are essentially the opposite of another character, and these differences highlight certain qualities in each other. In my opinion, Astarion is the foil character to Wyll in Baldur's Gate 3. Astarion is one selfish, unlikable bastard, and yet is one of the most favorite and beloved characters. He hides his insecurity, trauma, and deep trust issues behind a bold, charismatic, and confident facade. He manipulates the player character in order to survive. He lies, cheats, and he takes joy in watching others suffer. He was never meant to be a hero. He was always a victim or a perpetrator of pain. But through the right choices in the story, we see him learn to trust again, to respect himself, and to make the difficult decision to put others before his own lust for power. He is truly everything Wyll isn't. Wyll is everything Astarion isn't. Both go through pain and adversity, but both make completely different choices in how to deal with that adversity. And this difference shows how different they are from each other. Astarion's selfishness really highlights Wyll's selflessness, and vice versa. Who they could have turned out to be if their circumstances were different. Both of them existing next to each other really show each other who they could have turned out to be if their circumstances or choices were any different. If Wyll gave in to the darkness and adversity and pain, he might have turned out just like Astarion. If Astarion had not given in to the pain, suffering, and torture that he went through, he might have turned out like Wyll. I'm not comparing both their adversities to be on the same level, but their response to it is what I'm talking about. Astarion talks about how Wyll was the type of prince that Astarion would have dreamed of marrying when he was a kid, but then doubles down and says that he's no longer a kid and that he's grown up. This showcases how Astarion sees how different of a man Wyll is to him. Wyll, on the other hand, romances a player character through this princely, fairy tale-like fanfare, inviting us for a dance. which really shows us that even in the worst environment ever, Wyll wants to be a gentleman for you. They both highlight each other, and both existing in camp was necessary. We needed a Wyll in this cast, okay? In the beta version of Baldur's Gate 3, Wyll was depicted as a bitter asshole, or so I've heard. Girl, I'm so glad that Larian made the choices they made for him to be the man that he is today. Can you imagine another asshole in the group? We needed this man, okay? We need Wyll. And in Genshin Impact, the majority of the Archon cast are foils to Mavuika. We compare them and all of their flaws and mistakes to the human Archon, and we're able to understand each and every one of them more because of it. If each Archon right now in the timeline was a hot mess, as endearing and as lovable as these characters are, then it would be awfully repetitive. And Mavuika had no choice but to be perfect. She was a human given an impossible task of being responsible for every single one of her people against an entity that normal gods have trouble stopping. She needed to be written this way, in my opinion. We needed a hero like her. These days, I'm starting to realize that I dislike the notion that a well-written character or a good character is one that is flawed, or one that has been through some tough shit in order to be interesting. In my opinion, again, I think we put too much weight and importance on the act of suffering. It leads us to value the hurt more than the saved. It leads to the romanticization of the artist's pain, that somehow the more f***ed up a person is, the better their art will be, for example. The Academy awards more Oscars to movies that are insanely depressing more times than not. A lot of people take dramatic, serious actors more seriously than their comedic counterpart, thinking that comedy is just less of an art form than drama. Suffering is what we find value in, and again, I don't think personally that needs to be the case all the time. I mean, there is strength and merit in a character that has seen hell, been affected by hell, and struggles with their experience in trying to still be a good person. But at the same time, I don't think adversity is a requirement for a good character. There is strength and merit in a character born to be a hero and dies a hero, never slipping up their morality once. I don't want and like to have arguments on which character suffered more and why their suffering makes them better, or even valid as existing as a character, or is the example of better writing. Look, okay, I do think that Genshin could have done a lot more with Mavuika as a character, and I think in BG3 they dropped the ball on Wyll's story in Act 3 with the whole dragon thing. I don't want to spoil. It was a little lackluster, okay? But you could really see that they put a lot of attention and story into Astarion, Shadowheart, and Lae'zel, and the other three kind of had to look for scraps. There wasn't as much story put into them. But these two characters existing as the ideal hero isn't inherently a problem. How they are used can be, totally. Look, I never liked the heroes. My favorite types of characters are the scrunks in the corner scheming and plotting and only living for themselves. I would actively roll my eyes if I encountered a character who embodies the whole must do the right thing and fulfill my duty trope. You know? I'm looking at you, Japard. I found them so boring. And if someone wasn't a little up, then what's the point? But these characters that we talked about today honestly changed my mind. It made me realize that, you know, we need these types of heroic characters in fiction to understand others. In fantasy, we need a hero to look up to, a solid rock in which others can rest upon for the viewers to admire. They aren't boring for existing. They are necessary tools of storytelling that actually represent their own messages and stories themselves if you care to look. They may not have flaws that we can relate to or resonate with, but they can show a side to a story we don't usually see. Wyll shows us the depths and the pain of being a hero, of us having the moral high ground. He shows that being a hero sometimes sucks. He's human, he feels sad, he dances and he fails, but he represents and shows a strength that will never be lost, that will never waver. And that's so beautiful. In a sea of losers, hey, I love every single companion, but in a sea of losers, it's nice to have some with their together. Mavuika shows us that no matter what you're born as, you're able to be your own path and destiny. She is the strength and willpower of the human race, and her depiction and representation of the human spirit is beautiful. So yeah, we need characters like these to understand ourselves better. I love both of these characters, and I have found a new appreciation for the ideal hero. Well, yeah, anyways, that's what I think. Thank you so much for watching. If you agree with me, then give this video a like. And if you disagree with me, tell me in the comments below why you think so. And if you think I'm pretty, you should subscribe. And also hit the notification bell because YouTube is not an ideal hero and we need to help her out a bit. She's full of flaws. I hope you enjoyed this twit, or that's what I think. These thoughts were some brainworms that I've been pondering for a while, and not the tadpole kind. And I really wanted to like share them with you guys and talk about this with you guys. So what do you think? So do you agree or disagree with me? I really want to know. Do you find these characters boring and an example of poor writing? Why or why not? I think it's a fun discussion. If you would like to support me and the channel, then please consider becoming a member on the Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/easocial, where for just $5 a month, you'll be able to see awesome videos like these super duper early. And you can get a shout out at the end of every single video. Hey, I'm from the future to say thank you so much to Alienize, Jonah, Luell, Kaya, Luandrill, Joanne, Moon, Blue X Crystal, Summers, Blue Ink Alchemist, Pauline, Shalami, Cass, Onyx Side, Atticus, IAK, Pierre Burner, Selkable, Haley Robinson, Ray Fields, Zendella, Bus Driver, Wokapi, Blurry, Klee, Pandus, Bombus, Friendly Fire, Grey Hex, D. Kells, and Kiara. Thank you so much for the support, guys. It means everything, and I hope you are enjoying this video early. Also, join us on twitch.tv/easocial for more gaming and an awesome community. Okay, well, that's all. I gotta go dance with Wyll, if you don't mind. And if I don't see you on Twitch, then I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye! I have to go to the bathroom. Maybe I'll be a hero. I'm about to be a hero on the bowl right now. Ew. No, I don't want that to be the outro. Gross. Okay, bye.